This video will be a fairly specific video on how to install a brake hose into a Shimano road brake lever. So I'm building up a gravel bike, it's got Shimano GRX, and I'm at the stage where I need to install the brake hose, and I thought this would be a pretty helpful video for those of you who do this. So I've already gotten to the point where I've cut the brake hose, so all I did was I used a pair of cable cutters, I measured the hose exactly where I wanted it, I cut it, and then I installed the hose insert. So this is a hose insert, and all you do is you hammer this into the top, and literally use a hammer. So we hammered that in, and you just take the hose, put it into a bench vise, or you can use the little plastic, yellow plastic things that Shimano provides where the hose goes into, and that way you can press it into a bench vise. Take a hammer, put the hose insert inside. So this is what it looks like. This is the hose that I cut. You cannot get the hose insert out. You have to have another hose insert. So just a little tip there. Now we're going to install the brake hose into the brake lever, and you do have to have an olive. So this is an olive. So it's a little kind of copper looking thing that's going to go onto the hose, and that's what actually provides the seal. And so I'm going to show you how this works on a Shimano road brake lever. At the brake lever, if it's a brand new brake lever, you're going to have this little plastic piece. And I said at the beginning of the video that you're going to need an olive. Actually, if it's a brand new one, it's probably going to have an olive already installed. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the plastic piece, and then we're going to take an open-ended 8mm wrench and remove this bolt. So this is going to have a little bit of mineral oil. Mineral oil is not corrosive to paint. It's not toxic to your hands, which is one reason I really like Shimano brakes. But you don't want to get it on the brake hoods, or you don't want to get it on brake pads, because it'll ruin brake pads, and getting it on the rubber piece of your brake hoods can cause them to be really slippery and hard to get out. So we're just going to remove this. It'll have some Loctite, some white thread seal there that's going to require you to use the wrench. Now I'm going to look inside there and verify that there is an olive. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the olive out, because I want to make sure the hose goes in straight, and you might have to use a flashlight to see it, but I would recommend just pulling this out. So that is the olive. Again, it's just a little brass looking thing there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to slide the bolt onto the hose and then put the olive on. You can't see it now, but I just reached over and grabbed a little bit of grease. I'm going to put just a tiny bit of grease on the olive, and then I'm going to take my brake hose. I'm going to slide the bolt on first, and then I'm going to slide the olive on. The bolt goes on to the hose, and then we're going to slide the olive on. And the olive, by the way, is what makes a seal. So the olive will seal your brake lines, and that way you get really good braking power. So I'm going to push the hose up with my finger. So I'm putting some pressure, pushing it up into the brake lever, and then I'm going to start this bolt with my fingers, and then I'm going to finish it up with the open-ended wrench. And that olive will push up in there. As you tighten that bolt, it will push that olive up inside. And so again, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my open-ended wrench and tighten this. Like I said, I'm putting some pressure on the hose as I tighten this down. I'll put the torque specs on the screen. It does not have to be insanely tight. Again, just tighten this down. I've been doing this a long time, so I know the feel of what it is, but again, I'll put the torque specs on the screen so you will know. And as we're doing this, what it's doing is it's compressing that olive, and the olive will press into the hose, which is why if you shorten your hoses and you reinstall, you've got to get a new olive and a new hose insert. The olive cannot be taken off of that hose in most situations. So again, that's making a seal as I tighten that down. It's not insanely tight. Actually, I see the torque specs on the side. It's 5 Newton meters. 5 Newton meters is not very tight. So that is nice and snug at 5 Newton meters. Again, I've been wrenching for a really long time. I know what that feels like. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to wipe everything down really well. You're just going to take basically some rubbing alcohol on a paper towel or towel, wipe everything down, get all that mineral oil off, because you don't want to get it on the rubber piece of your brake hoods it will make them very slippery, and we don't want to do that. I keep rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle, which is super useful in a garage. So just wipe everything down really well. And then the final step is to bleed the brakes. And I will link a video below of how to bleed Shimano brakes. And you do need a Shimano brake bleeding kit, but I made a pretty thorough video on how to bleed these, so check that out if you want. So that's how you install a brake hose into a Shimano hydraulic road brake lever. Again, check out the video that I'll link in the description below on how to bleed the brakes, because you definitely will need to bleed the brakes after doing this. Any questions or comments that you have, drop those below. And if this video helped you out, please give it a thumbs up for me. That does help out my YouTube channel. I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.